Please be seated. The court is now back in session. And again, we would like to hand the floor to the prosecutor to put question to this witness. You may proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, I would like us to revisit what you said regarding the meeting or the meetings you attended in Sector 13, a meeting that was chaired by Tassom, and you stated that they talked of purges of internal and external enemies, particularly those who were sympathetic towards supporters of Lon Nol and those who had bad tendencies. Can you try to recall the exact statement made by Tassom regarding the enemy? What did he say specifically?
On the issue of purging the enemy, as stated by the sector chairman, it mainly focused on those individuals who oppose the regime of Democratic Cambodia. Those people will be considered the enemy.
Bon, et vous aviez dit...
Very well, and you said in answer 30, that is E35521, that opponents were sent to follow re-education sessions, and many of them did not return. What was the level of authority that had the competence to send, who had to be sent for re-education? Was it the commune, the district, or the sector?
At that time, it was only the sector or the zone who had the authority to decide as who would be called for re-education. The commune did not have that authority.
Donc la commune se contentait...
So the commune merely contented itself with establishing reports on incidents during which certain persons expressed their opposition to the regime. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. The commune would make a report, and the report will be forwarded to the upper echelon, who would make a decision on the matter.
Lorsque vous parlez de session d'instruction,
when you talk of re-education sessions, was it a question of sending persons that the sector or the district had decided to send for such re-education? Were they sent to a re-education centers?
In practice, the upper organization would send those people who were called or who were gathered.
est-ce qu'à l'époque du Kampuchea...
During the Democratic Kampuchea regime, did you ever hear the name Ta'an, the director of the District Re-Education Center?
I heard of the name of Ta'an, but I did not know him. But for the commune committee, we did not go through where the ant worked.
Vous avez dit ceci dans...
This is what you stated in your record of interview E3/5521, question 41, and this was your answer to that question. Did you know who had issued letters to arrest and send people to study? And your answer was as follows. The district security wrote letters to the commune militia, and in answer 42, I knew because the commune militia reported to the commune, and only the commune militia had the right to arrest and tie people. So you are talking of the security officers who wrote to secret agents or militias. What do you mean by security officers? Are you talking of security officials of the commune, the district, or the region, or any other persons who are in charge of security in that region?
In that statement, for the militia, it refers to the, rather, the security refers to the security in the sector, and they would liaise with the militia at the commune level.
Donc, quand vous parlez ici, ça a été traduit agent.
So, when you talk of militias, or secret agents, you indeed mean the militiamen or the shrubs at the level of the commune.
But
Yes, indeed, that is correct.
Bien, j'en viens aux coopératives.
Let us talk about cooperatives in the various units. You stated that cooperatives were established on the basis of classification of members of the population into three groups. You have the full rights inhabitants, you have the candidate inhabitants, and the base people whose relatives were executed by Ankar, or persons whose children or grandchildren had been involved in the former regime. Then you talked of natives and non-native people who are deported from Phnom Penh. When cooperatives were created based on the classification of the members of the population, where were those three units based in your commune? Were they based at different locations in the commune?
As for the organization of the cooperatives, members of the population was classified, as you stated, into the three classifications: the full rights, the candidates, and the depositees. And houses were built for various units starting from A, B, C, D, etc.
Est-il correct de dire que
Is it correct to say that the full rights inhabitants were in the first unit, the candidate inhabitants in the second unit, and the other candidates in the third unit, and they were located at different places?
As for the classification of the members of the population into three categories, and not units but categories, 3 categories. And then within the categories, they will be placed into various units. And it depends on the size of the population of a commune. Sometimes there will be 5 to 6 units within a commune.
D'accord. Est-ce qu'il y avait des unités?
Very well. Were there any units consisting exclusively of 17 April people?
Yes. Yes, for the 17 April people. However, the unit chief and the deputy unit chief for those 7 April people group of units were the best people.
Lorsque cette catégorisation,
When that classification of the population was done, were you still at Nyang or at Sri Ronyang commune?
I had already been transferred to Sri Runung, a commune.
est-ce que les travailleurs
were the workers of the first category, that is, full rights inhabitants?
envers le parti
And you said earlier that they considered themselves as loyal to the party. Did the party consider those workers as the purest among all the workers?
Those workers who were classified as in the first classifications means that they were the proper people who adhere to the revolution.
Est-ce que les travailleurs de la deuxième catégorie
And the inhabitants of the second category, that is, the base people, were they less worthy of trust than those of the first category?
For the second category, those people were also trusted as they were the best people. However, they felt that they were placed in the second category because they had family members or relatives who lived in the area controlled by the enemy. So they were actually in the process of becoming the full right people.
et concernant les 17
And regarding the 17 April people, that is, those who came from the town, were they considered as cadres of the regime as not being worthy of trust?
They trusted them, or trusted most of them, and there were only less majority of them was not trusted. They were trusted by the party, and that was the reason they were allowed to live in or at the base.
Est-ce que vous avez entendu l'expression
We hear the expression prisoners of war used to designate the 17 April people.
Yes, the expression was used. People talked about prisoners of war. However, later on, they were referred to as city evacuees or town evacuees.
Alors, je vais lire un
Very well. I'll read an excerpt of your record of interview, E3/5521. You said in answer to question 47, there was a lack of food because there were many people, but our production was little, and people made do with rice porridge. Who had to content themselves with rice porridge? Were they people of the first, second, or third categories?
If there was gruel for a category, it means that all the three categories would have the same food, that is the same gruel. However, I could only talk about my commune, that is Tribunal. And every 10 days there will be a better gruel, that is gruel mixed with meat. And we would have pork for people to eat every 10 days. But like I said again, this is what happened at Tribunal commune.
Monsieur le témoin, vous apparteniez à quelle catégorie?
Witness, to which category did you belong? Category 1, Category 2, or Category 3?
I do not get your question.
Est-ce que vous étiez un habitant de la base?
Were you a base person who belonged to the first category of people according to the Khmer Rouge classification? Or were you in the second category because someone from your family had ties with the Long Non regime? Or were you among the evacuees of Phnom Penh?
I was a base person. However, I was not yet classified into the first category, although I worked at the commune level. Because one of my younger brother was taken away, and a son of my elder brother was also taken away. So I was placed in the second category as a candidate person, but due to the good work performance, then I was assigned to be in charge of the commune in 1977 and 1978.
Est-ce que vous étiez membre du parti?
Were you a member of the Kampuchea Communist Party in your capacity as commune chief at Sui Ronang?
I was a candidate member, not a full-right member.
Vous avez dit à la réponse 51.
Said in answer 51 that most of the sick were those of the 17th April because they hadn't gained enough experience to live in the rural areas. Question 53. At that time, were there many people dying? And your answer was that death indeed existed. If most of the sick were people of the 17th of April, were there progressively fewer and fewer 17th April people working in Sri Ronyang commune?
In Sri Nanung commune, when I was there, I resolved a number of the issues related to the living condition. However, there were still people who were ill, and some of them had to be sent to a hospital in Ong Roniep.
Je voudrais maintenant présenter le document.
I would like to show you document E3/2436 to the witness. And with your leave, Mr. President, may I request that it be placed on the screen?
Yes, you may proceed.
Il s'agit d'un rapport de la commune.
It is a report from Nyang Commune, signed by MIM. It was sent to District Angkar in April 1977. This report concerns a person called Nupon of the New People. He was a former soldier in the former regime. In paragraph 3 of that report, MIM criticizes Nupon as follows, and I quote, "When he was transferred to construct canals, Nupon refused to go there on the pretext that he was too exhausted to carry earth. When he was assigned to produce fertilizers, he said he had stomach ache, incapable of doing the work. He hardly works. He is very cunning. He is very fat." End of quote. Question: were people too exhausted to work in cooperatives? Witness.
In Srai Nanong commune, I never experienced people who were exhausted. The document here was about the situation in Nyanyong commune after I had left.
So, can you specify again when you left Nyanyong commune? Because here, this is a document dated 28 April 1977, and earlier on I showed you a document dated June 1976, and each time you said that you had already left Nyanyong commune. So when exactly did you leave Nyanyong commune?
Answer: I left Nyanyong commune in late 1977 or early 1978.
So you agree that the report I just read out to you, dated 28 April 1977, was drafted when you were still there, still at Nyanyong? Another question: would people who were sick often accused of making believe because they did not want to work? Did you ever hear of that?
Answer: for this matter, in my commune, I did not hear any people pretending to be sick, and they were actually sick, and they received treatment.
At the bottom of the report that I just read, E3/2436, there's a handwritten note signed by a son named Kut. This note authorizes the arrest of a certain Mupon. Do you know who this Kit was, and what were his duties back then?
Answer: Taket was the district committee at that time. He was at the district committee level at that time.
Thank you. I have two other documents to show to you. And Mr. President, may I have the leave to display it on the screen? It's document E3/2450 and document E3/2453.
ជំរាបអនុញ្ញាត
President, you may proceed.
Alors concernant le premier,
With regard to the first document, E3/2450, with the following ERNs: Khmer 0027 0748, English 00322163, French 00623749. And this is a report that was sent by the chief of Ninyong Commune, or by his deputy by the name of Min, and it was sent to the head of Krang Takchang prison, Ta'an. And this report regards a woman of Ninyong Commune who is called in this document O/A. O-A, corrects the interpreter. She was the wife of a lieutenant colonel in the London regime who had been arrested upon Ankar's recommendation because she had complained of the fact that, and I quote, "Doing the revolution is very difficult. We have to do the works days and nights and are given gruel to eat. We cannot bear this sort of living." End of quote. The second document, E3/2453, Khmer ERN 00270780 to 81, English 00388583, French 00611773. And this is a report dated 6 October 1977, which is addressed to the district by Ninyong Commune and signed by SIM, S-I-M. SIM is denouncing the wives of servicemen who had criticized the revolution because they had nothing to eat. I quote, "We would only eat gruel." Whereas under the old regime, it was completely different. And these wives of servicemen said that the food under the former regime was adequate and that people would have fun. So what would happen to the people in Ninyong who would complain about the lack of food and about the hard living conditions or about the hard working conditions?
Answer. In the two letters, I was not aware of them. I could not give my response. I already left Nhai Nhong, and when Tamien arrived at the place, I was not in Nhai Nhong. So frankly, I did not know, and I could not make any decision. So I was not aware of the two letters.
Fine. But were the communes ordered by the district to produce reports on people who would complain about the lack of food or about the working conditions?
Answer. In my commune, those who complain about working condition, there would be session of criticism and self-criticism, so that those people could understand about the collective interests concerning our work. I never sent any reports to the districts.
Who was this Sim, who signed this report from Ninyang Commune in October 1977, at a time when you said you were still there.
Sim was the head of Nyanyong. President, Mr. Winnet, you are instructed to repeat your response because while you were answering, the microphone was not yet activated. Witness. As for Sim, he was the chief of Nyanyong Commune. I was not with him. I had already left the place when he was there.
Fine. I'm not speaking about Srai Ronong Commune, but about your role as a commune leader. So, as far as you knew, was it compulsory for the communes to draft reports regarding people who tried to escape?
Answer. If there are such incidents, the report would be compiled and submitted to the districts.
Fine. I have 3 copies of such reports, and which I would like to show to you and would like to display on the screen with your leave, Mr. President. This is document D157.90 and E3/24 and E3/2452.
President, you may proceed.
Donc le premier document nous vient de la commune de Nyanyang.
The first document, which comes from Ninyang Commune, this is a report dated at end of November 1977 regarding the interrogation of a young person who was arrested in Ninyang Commune and who had tried to escape to Vietnam. The report explains that the district soldiers fired 3 shots before managing to arrest him, and then he was sent to the District Police Re-Education Center. The second document, E3/2453 on page Khmer 00270779, English 00388582, French 00611772, and this is a report that was drafted by Kuhn on 13 October 1977, who was the Sraivong Commune chief, and he's sending this report to the district party regarding a farmer who fled the commune and who was captured in District 107 and sent back to Srai Ronong. And finally, document E3/2452 Khmer ERN 00270998, English 00843036, French 00872836, and this is the document which I showed you at the beginning. That is to say, a partial report dated 8 October 1977, which was drafted in Srai Narong by a certain Nyung, N-O-V, a certain No. And he reports on new people, a person from the new people who went to Lebo, who deserted his commune. So here we have 3 examples of commune reports concerning you. And you said that reports had to be sent to the district. So what were the specific instructions from the district regarding people who were trying to escape from Cambodia, in particular because of the living and working conditions in Cambodia?
សាកថៃមកអត់ឆ្លើយតប
President, please hold on, Mr. Witness. You may proceed, Mr. Kong Samon. Counsel Kong Samon. Thank you, Mr. President. Concerning the use of the document by the Deputy International Court Prosecutor, Mr. Co-prosecutor said that this document was made or drafted by no. From my understanding, Mr. Witness already said that he could not recognize this document and he could not read and could not know who drafted or made this report. So I believe that the International Court Prosecutor misrepresented the testimony of Mr. Witness.
I did not represent anything. I didn't say that he had signed this document. He gave his explanation regarding the author of the third document. The question I want to put is much more general in nature. We're speaking about 3 reports that were drafted in the commune where the witness lived and worked. And my question is, if reports were sent by the communes to the district, and therefore what were the instructions given by the district regarding people who are trying to flee Cambodia because of the living and working conditions they were subjected to?
President, the objection of the defense counsel is overruled, and there is clear basis of the chamber needs to hear this testimony or response from this witness. Mr. Witness, you are instructed to provide your response to the last question put by Deputy International Court Prosecutor. Answer. Concerning the last question, I already told the court that I was not aware of these reports and the handwriting is not mine. Actually, this is my name because during that time I was in Tribunal and it is my name. And 2 reports in my hands, I was not aware of the 2 documents here, so please be informed, Mr. President.
Fine. In terms of the meetings you would attend every month as a commune chief, were you given specific instructions regarding the necessity to draft reports on all people who may be arrested as they were trying to flee Cambodia?
Answer. The meetings might happen once or twice a month concerning the harvest in dry or wet season. If it was not necessary, the meeting was not held, and if it was necessary, there would be meetings. During the meetings, there were instructions concerning the produce 3 tons per hectare, and we were told to strive in working in the fields. Thank you.
Thank you, witness. That was not my question. What I wanted to know is that during these monthly meetings at the district level, were security issues brought up? I'm not speaking about agriculture. Were the commune chiefs told when they had to produce reports to the district regarding security issues and in particular regarding people who were trying to flee Cambodia?
Answer. At my place, the meetings were not about those who escape or who try to escape. I was not aware of such meetings or such discussion. Thank you.
You said that the communes were in charge of producing reports regarding people who were trying to flee Cambodia. Why would the communes draft such reports if they had not received prior instruction to do so?
Answer. The report was about the situation every month, which we had to include the security, economics, and social work. If there were no people trying to escape, and then we would not put in the report. But if there were such incidents, we would put in report. And actually, I wasn't the one who drafted the report. There was someone at the office who produced the reports.
Vous avez dit à la...
At answer 68 of your written record of interview,
President. Thank you very much, Mr. No. The hearing of your testimony as a witness does not come to an end yet. You are invited to provide your testimony again on Monday, 16 March 2015, starting from 9 a.m. And the chamber will try to finish your finish hearing your testimony by Monday. So we would like to end your testimony, end the hearing on your testimony by now, because we have other matters to discuss. Court officer, you are instructed to bring Mr. No back to his residence and have him returned on Monday, 16 March 2015, before 9 a.m. And Mr. Munsawand, you are also invited to be here. You may be excused now. Now, the chamber would like to give the floor to Mr. Kope to present your reasons in relation to your request concerning the site visit of Krang Thachan Security Office, as mentioned by Judge Fen this morning. As we may be aware, the events happens almost 40 years, and in the report we have seen the picture of the size and also some other reports to have the basis for the decision by the chamber. The chamber would like to hear further reasons by Counsel Victor Kope. If you wish to do so, you may proceed, Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been thinking about your request, obviously, this afternoon, and I'm not sure if there is much more to add than what I already said. You're right, in a spontaneous request earlier last month. But I might reiterate that for me and for my team, it was extremely helpful to not only have been able to study the maps that were drawn by the investigators and the photos that were made, but actually to be able to see the site. It's almost, well, the comparison may be a little strange, but it's almost like you wouldn't buy a house based on a map of the house and some photos. You would like to actually see it. And once you see something, especially this crime site, it is extremely helpful in understanding all kinds of issues. One issue, for instance, and I think I mentioned that earlier, is that we can read in the closing order that it is alleged that probably around 15,000, or allegedly around 15,000 people were executed at Krang Tachan. It is our contention, and that is also we'll write that in our closing briefs at one point in time, but it is, I think, physically completely impossible to have 15,000 corpses lying in pits on that grave site. Now you can make that calculation based on statistics, forensic calculation methods, etc. But if you're actually on that site, this is one of the things that will immediately come to your attention. There are all kinds of other issues that have been discussed in the last months. Positions of the gate, the position of the foot of the mountain. So there's all kinds of issues which technically you could decide, or you can make conclusions on paper. However, in reality, when you actually see the crime site, when you see Krang Tachan, many issues become much clearer. And then I think it will also become clear, and that was the reason why we made that spontaneous request, that the witnesses who are saying, who are giving testimony to executions, torture, etc., on the crime site, and the ones, especially guards, who are saying, well, we didn't see anything, we weren't able to notice anything, that to me seems not very credible, that these two scenarios could coexist together. So I presume that I'm reiterating my earlier comments on this issue. However, there are also other issues that are relevant. There are things that could be investigated by the trial chamber, things that we are unable to actually investigate. For instance, there is a stupa on that site containing the skulls of people allegedly killed there. We tried to make a calculation of how many skulls we could see. That could potentially be an indication of people that were executed there. I don't know. Was Krang Tachan indeed a grave burial site, as is reported in the post-1979 reports? That is something that we cannot verify. We have tried to ask that to witnesses, but maybe the trial chamber, while investigating and while being accompanied by the local authorities, could come up with answers. I don't know. But I suppose the most important underlying reason for this request is that in our experience, and I think the prosecution must agree with this, that it is a huge difference in actually seeing the site, walking on the site, seeing the buildings, although they are not authentic anymore, and try to be able to evaluate the things in a proper way. So technically, you're right. There is a drawing, but it's a difference between day and night, and that's why I think it is very worthwhile to the ascertainment of the truth that the trial chamber visits the site by itself, accompanied obviously by the parties.
President, thank you very much. You may proceed, Deputy International Court Prosecutor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to add something to what I said last time. I was speaking, or I was saying that in principle it would be, of course, interesting for members of the court to travel to that place, but there are different problems here. There is an identification, there's a site identification report that's placed on the case file, and that's very comprehensive with GPS data and all kinds of photos that are attached. There is a map that was drawn based on the different locations that were designated by the civil party who came with the investigators. And today I see that the defense is referring to that map, and which is rather interesting, because during the other days the defense was relying on the map that was drawn by a guard. So thanks to these photographs, I think we have a clear idea, because the civil party shows a certain number of places that no longer exist today. Of course, there are still traces of pits, but regarding the buildings, there are no buildings left, so there's no point of going there. The buildings that were built afterwards are maybe those the defense is referring to, but those are not the buildings that existed at the time. So I do not see why we should go on site and waste a day concerning these buildings. Now, regarding the pits, I heard the Nguyen Chia defense say that they could not imagine that 15,000 bodies could have been buried in these pits. I think everyone remembers a specific testimony stating that there was no longer any room in the site, and therefore that the bodies were buried outside of the first fence in any case. And another thing regarding the visibility we may have of the execution sites, of the interrogation site, well, the building no longer exists, and the trees have changed. They're no longer. So I don't see how a trip to Krang Tachang could really add much to what we already have in the site identification report that was drafted by the co-investigating judges. Of course, if in principle it might be useful to travel on site to understand the distances, but here I don't think that there is anything to be gained to travel there in relation to the report that already exists.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. You may proceed. The International Legal Lawyer for Civil Party. President, please turn on your microphone.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've not had much opportunity to speak up during the formulation of the application by the Nguyen Chia Council. We object to this application for a site visit. It is rather belated. We are in a trial following investigations that lasted several years, and the Nguyen Chia defense could have requested such a site visit during the investigations. We are now at the trial stage. To justify a trip by the chamber to that site, you would have to introduce a new element in relation to the investigations. You have to show something that was not seen at the time of the investigation, and the prosecution has said something, and I agree with him, that we've been to the Krang Tachan site. None of the buildings are in place. There's a project that has built new buildings, Youth for Peace. So to go to a site where the original buildings no longer exist is completely irrelevant at this stage of the trial. You would have to counterbalance the usefulness of such a trip and the fact that such a trip would be very inconvenient to everyone, to the chamber, the parties. It's a very, very serious matter. I don't think going to visit that site would help bring the truth to light. It would be actually contrary to the manifestation of the truth. In a criminal trial, it is normal that two versions be confronted, and it is not abnormal to see victims presenting their own version of the facts to the accused, and it is the work of the chamber to sort out all this evidence which is presented before this chamber and to decipher the truth. So it is therefore not necessary for us to visit the site based on the testimony of the witness. Besides, the non-chair defense could have requested such a visit during the investigations. We would also go to Kampong Chenang Airport. That is another place that could be visited, but it is not normal for us to systematically request that the chamber go and visit a sites which are discussed at this trial stage.
President, what about the defense team for Mr. Keo Sampon? Besides what you submitted in the previous time, did you have anything further to add?
We are always favorable to site visits, if only to clarify the matters regarding this mass grave, which poses difficulties for us, Mr. President.
President, I thank you very much for all the additional reasons and information in relation to the request of the defense counsel for Mr. Nguyen Jie. The request is to visit Krang Tachan Security Center, and the chamber will decide on this matter in due course. The chamber would like to inform the public that on Monday the chamber will resume hearing Mr. Notno's testimony, and following Monday the chamber will proceed to hear witnesses as indicated in the schedule already. The chamber will hear T2 TCW 860 and 822. The chamber will inform all parties in the emails this afternoon. So in another matter, the chamber would like to inform Mr. Defense Counsel for Mr. Nguyen Jie. Your request is to ask the chamber to adjourn for 6 weeks so that you have time to read the new disclosure, the disclosure of a new document by the co-prosecutor from cases 03 and 04 into case 02. The chamber will make a decision on the request next week. Please be informed. The matter is a bit complicated, and the chamber needs time to discuss and decide. And the chamber has sought some information from parties, and as of now, we observe that more documents have been disclosed by the party, and the chamber will will look and consider all the new disclosure of those documents tomorrow, and we will make a decision in due course next week. Now it is time for the adjournment. The hearing will resume on Monday, 16 March 2015, starting from 9 a.m. And as I have already informed, on Monday we will resume our hearing on the testimony of Mr. No. Security personnel, you are instructed to bring Mr. Kieu Sampon and Mr. Nuon Chia back to the detention facility and have them returned on Monday, 16 March 2015 before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ